to Riddle's channel. It took me a while, but I'm back with another video, and this time I decided to work on these 3 dolls that played a huge part in my childhood. They might not be the most popular dolls, but they were once my most favorite and precious toys. Also a note, these are not my actual childhood dolls, but thrifted versions of them. We have Capri Barbie from 1990, Bali Barbie from 1993, and Riviera Barbie from 1994. These 2 dolls on the right were my dolls, and Capri Barbie belonged to my cousin. But I used to visit her and play with this doll so much that I decided to include her in this video. And oh boy, it feels strange to hold these dolls again. Actually, I remember this doll with straighter hair, so I'm not sure if my cousin restyled her or if there were other versions of the doll. But she surely didn't have this huge curly hair. But yeah, I remember this face very well. And these girls, oh my goodness, I'm actually getting a bit emotional here. This is exactly how I remember them. Seeing them like this feels like opening a box full of memories and feelings that I haven't felt in ages. Bali Barbie, also known as Ruffle Fun in the US. She was my first Barbie and she looks exactly like mine did. Exactly the same matted hair. The only difference is that one of my family members once told me that if I cut my doll's hair, it'll grow back longer. So yeah, her hair was cut shorter and was sticking up most of the time. Like this. I really don't remember her hair out of the box at all. But gosh, I forgot how much I loved her. And Riviera Barbie, known as Ruffle Fun Barbie in the US, was my second Barbie. She also had this saran hair and a little side ponytail here, and the same stud earrings. Also the same side bangs. So some versions of this doll came with these studs and some came with extra pink hoops. Also some versions had kanekalon hair while others had saran hair. My doll's neck actually broke and she had a huge gap here. My dad tried to superglue the broken piece back, but it kept falling off, so he ended up just pushing her head down and supergluing it to her neck, so she then had the typical wide head issue. Yeah, I barely remember her with her neck intact, actually. I also always loved her eye colors, they're so pretty. Okay, enough of this. I still need to clean them and there's quite some work to do. Let's start with Capri. She has very wobbly leg joints, which I'm not sure how to fix, but I also don't mind it really. She'll only be on display anyway. She will need a good wash as her legs are visibly dirty with all kinds of stains, but at least they don't seem to be permanent, so a regular wash should suffice. Otherwise, her body is in a good state. Now her face and hair have some black marker stains, which I hope will wash off. You can see them here on her left cheek, left temple, and the nearby hair. A bit on the mouth and a lot around her eyes. I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like a black pen was used, so I think this should come off. As for her hair, it doesn't look that bad at all, but it does feel very dry and it does need a wash too. With Bali, we absolutely need to wash and restore her hair. It is super matted and it feels very coarse even for matted kanekalon, like much coarser than other dolls with kanekalon hair I fixed up. It seems like her hair used to be parted in the middle in the past. She probably had 2 ponytails at some point. Now her hair is luckily super thick and it isn't missing a single hair plug. Only this one front plug is somewhat thinner, but I don't think it warrants a reroot. It won't be visible after I restyle her hair later. But yeah, the hair's very well rooted on this doll. Other than that, she's just a bit dirty, so again, a regular wash should be enough. Really good condition overall that won't require repairs. And at last, Riviera. The hair is thick and feels a bit stiff. I think someone may have used some hair product on her. She also has very thick hair, however, I see something here. She's missing several plugs in a row here. It's not very obvious as she has so much hair, but with this many missing plugs, I am going to reroot them. Apart from that, the hair just needs a good wash. Now, her body is not in such a good shape. Can you see these marks on her right hand? I think these were bite marks that someone tried to fix with heat, maybe with a glue gun, or then they are just shallow bite marks. Either way, I'll try to make this look better. Her knees are worn and I cannot straighten them or bend them anymore. And then her feet. I tie them up to make them straighter, but there is another issue. Her feet were definitely a victim of some teeth, probably a pet by the looks of it. This is one thing I don't know how to fix yet. Now, she could be rebodied, but I also don't mind this as it's not a very visible defect. If I do find a way to fix it, I'll definitely share it with you, or perhaps if you know of a good method, please do let me know. But since most of her body is still okay, I really don't want to throw it out just yet. So I'll start with brushing their hair out. And I know, some of you guys have been recommending that I try soaking the hair in fabric softener, and I promise I will do that in a future video. I actually have a doll in mind that will be perfect for that. So please be patient. For now, I'll follow my usual method of brushing the hair dry with a pet brush before I wash them. As long as you're gentle in this step, the brush is really good at detangling even extremely stubborn tangles. Now her hair took a bit longer to brush out due to the curls. She probably would have been a good doll to try the fabric softener on, but I also just wanted to know if the pet brush will work with these curly types of hair. Bali was much easier as her hair is straight. I still feel though as if her kanekalon hair has a rougher texture than the previous dolls I restored. It doesn't affect the brushing that much, but her hair just wants to be very puffy and unruly. Then Riviera saran is super easy to brush. But my goodness, she has the softest head I've seen. Now it's time to wash them, and for that I'll place them all in a pail. Remember to remove the leg binders. And add a dash of dish soap. Then I'll fill the pail with hot water and allow the dolls to soak for a couple of hours. I use hot water because it's really good at lifting dirt and grease. Puffy kanekalon also might need a bit of help with the soaking as it likes to repel water. After the soak, I'll scrub them very well using a sponge as it proved to be really good at removing the dirt. And all I will do is just scrub them thoroughly. Capri's face needed extra attention due to the pen marks, but luckily the sponge was enough to lift them off. I didn't want to scrub too hard to not damage her face paint. Bali also had something shimmery on her face, so I had to make sure that that comes off. Riviera wasn't that dirty, but she needed some extra care with her feet. After the initial wash, I then use shampoo for a thorough hair wash. You can also just use dish soap for this step, but I prefer the smell of this shampoo, so that's the main reason why I use it. It doesn't really need to be shampoo. I then rinse the shampoo out and add a generous amount of conditioner and start combing the hair with a fine-toothed comb. This is the step where most of the tangles are removed and the hair gets prepared for the boil wash. While washing the hair, I remembered that I did do this once with my own dolls as a kid. I also use shampoo and conditioner, but as a kid I didn't really know about the boil washing methods. The hair turned out nice, but it definitely would have benefited from a good boil wash. It's really a shame that I stopped being interested in Barbies as a teenager, because my mom asked me once if I want to give them away and I said yes, so she did give them away. And now I wish I still had them. It would have been a really lovely moment to see them being restored after all the playtime they had to endure with us. If the dolls are on the dirtier side, I also like to give them an extra scrub with baking soda. For that, I just use an old toothbrush and apply the baking soda directly onto them. Then I rinse it all off and also rinse most of the conditioner out too. For the boil wash, I'll prepare 2 jars this time. I boiled some water in a kettle and will pour it into both jars. Saran hair can take more heat and it needs more time in the hot water, so I'll just place Riviera in and let her soak while I take care of the other dolls. The kanekalon girls need a bit more care. In this time, the water cooled down a bit, which is better for kanekalon. You don't want it to be hotter than 90 degrees Celsius. I'll start with gently swirling the hair in the water and then combing it out as I pull it out of the water. This helps kanekalon straighten out and have a nice uniform appearance. I then refilled the hot water for the second doll as it wasn't hot enough for both dolls. Then I just repeat the same process. Lastly, I refilled the jar again with freshly boiled water for the saran hair and focused mostly on easing out the ends which were a bit more damaged and tangled. But honestly, it didn't really need that much work in the end. I then waited for the hair to dry to better see how I want to style it, but it's actually better to style it wet. With Bali, I want to recreate the look that is depicted on the back of her box. For that, I'll need to part her hair a bit towards the left and give her a small side ponytail. It's not a tight ponytail, so I tried to give it a bit of volume at the roots. Now I'll just wet her hair to make it easier to work with. This is the look I'm going for, so I'll try to make a few sections that I will curl individually for a bit more volume. I also wrap the sections of hair in a bit of tissue paper just to keep the hair strands together when curling, as the hair likes to rebel against being curled. I finally have better curlers, so these are easier to use. And then I'll just curl all these sections and make sure the curlers are nice and tightly in place. Looking at her, I still can't believe I cut my own doll's hair. I remember regretting it immediately, but of course, there was nothing I could do at that point. This doll's hair wasn't even that bad, but there was another doll that was not an original Mattel Barbie who ended up much worse. Poor thing, she pretty much lost her entire hair. And all that because I thought their hair will grow back longer. I was very naive. Maybe it's better that I didn't get more expensive Barbie dolls back then after all. But I remember pining after the long-haired ones. I especially wanted the glitter hair Barbie, as that was my cousin's other Barbie doll that we didn't get to play with as much because she wanted to keep her hair intact. And I was a kid who loved everything pink and glittery, so of course. And I wanted her hair gel so bad. But my parents couldn't afford more expensive toys for us back then, so we had to be happy with these two budget dolls we had. I remember I really wanted the jewel hair mermaid Barbies, of course. And also Beauty Blossom Barbie was another one I kept eyeing in the toy stores for months because of her transforming dress. Needless to say, I didn't get either of them. With this one, I had to move the rubber band to the back of the curler to keep it from pressing a line into the hair in the front, which already kind of started happening a bit. But there we have it. For Capri, I also want to recreate her original box hair, which is what she came with. I'll need to put her hair into a high ponytail and then curl the hair. I want to give her two types of curls, so I'll curl one part of her hair using pipe cleaners, which will result in very small curls. These I want mostly in the front part. Then I'll also add some small curlers, which are thinner than the ones I used for Bali, but thicker than the pipe cleaners. Again, I'm wrapping the hair strands in some tissue paper to make it easier to curl the hair. My strongest memory about this doll was my cousin's doll dress drawer. Her grandma, who's my aunt, used to be a professional seamstress, and she made my cousin an incredible collection of handmade doll fashions. They were amazing, like they were done really well, and there was a full drawer of them. Dresses, pants, skirts, hair accessories, like even a full wedding dress. There were all sorts of clothes, and it was so much fun to try them all on and combine the various pieces together. Also, I remember every time we visited my cousin, her dolls would be dressed in different fashions, and it was always so cool to see what looks she came up with. Now, this took me so much time that her hair actually dried up. And I was too lazy to wet it again, but I managed to curl it even when dry. Now, to help the curls set, I'll pour some hot water directly onto them. Funnily, the hot water caused some rubber bands to fall off the curlers, so I had to fix that. But here you have to be super careful not to burn your hands, as the water is scalding hot. Sometimes the hot water may also cause the hairbands to snap, and that's exactly what happened to Capri Barbie. You can maybe see it here in the back that the rubber band broke. Luckily, the curlers are holding the style in place, so I'll just replace the band later. I allowed the hair to dry for 2 full days, and now it's time to remove the curlers. So I'll start with removing all the curlers from Bali, and well, she's giving me Marilyn Monroe vibes now. I think I could have used bigger curlers on her, but it's not a problem. Let's see what we can do here. So I'll first gently brush through her hair to smooth it out. Then I'll take some hot water in a jar and use a fine tooth comb to ease some of these curls out a bit. There might be better methods for this, but this is what I could think of. So all I'm doing here is using the hot water to loosen some of the curls, but at the same time, I want to keep the curls at the end of the hair. To make sure I don't lose these end curls, I comb them around my finger to reinforce them. I have to admit that hairstyling and curling is not my strongest point, but I guess I learned a lot in this process already. Using the pipe cleaners is a method I learned by watching restoration videos over at Disney Barbie Girl's channel, who is, by the way, absolutely amazing. She does stellar doll work. I really recommend it. And using the pipe cleaners looked so easy when she did it, but it's actually a bit tricky. I definitely needed some time to get the hang of it. And also, if you have any good tips on what I could do next time when I decide to curl doll hair, I'd be so super happy to hear from you. I always really appreciate your guys' input and thoughts. Then after some time of repeating this process over and over, she's at a place that I like her, so she's ready for the final drying. Capri is a much easier case. All I need to do is remove all the curlers and replace the broken hairband. And honestly, I think this already looks really cute, but I want to give the hair a bit more volume. So I'll just use the rat's tail part of the comb to gently divide the curls. I don't want to brush them because that would cause the curls to puff up way too much and lose a lot of their definition. This is really all that's needed. Okay, and we still have Riviera to tackle. I dunked her head in hot water for about 5 minutes to soften her head, and then I gently removed it. The first thing I want to do is fix her hand and see if I can improve the look of it. So let's hop over to the stove where I have some water at a rolling boil. I'll place the hand directly into the water, making sure that no part of her body touches the metal parts of the pot. And then I'll just leave her in for a few minutes. Oh, right. Also make sure her other hand isn't too close to the burner. I almost caused a small disaster there. After a few minutes, her hand looks much better. Now when the hand cools down, some marks may still stay visible. Also, boiling the hand may cause the finger definition to disappear a bit, so to combat that, I like to use a carver to very gently reinforce the finger creases. Then we need to reroot the missing plugs in her head. First, I wet her hair as this makes it easier to see the plugs, as well as work with the hair. Then I'll use some hair clips to keep the hair out of the way. The donor for the hair is going to be this songbird Barbie, who also has saran hair. She became a donor because she's actually missing most of her hair and it's in rough condition. So I'll just use what I can and perhaps I'll completely reroot her in the future. Also, she's just the closest saran hair match that I had on me. So first I wet her hair as well, and this will make it easy to remove individual hair plugs that are ready to be used. All I need to do is just isolate a single hair plug, wrap it around my finger and pull tightly. Then I just tie a simple knot at the end. I'll first prepare a bunch of these hair strands to make the rerooting process faster. Now, this method of using hair straight off the doll's head instead of cutting it all off was shared with me by one of you viewers in a comment on one of my other videos. I believe it was Anna Chronica who mentioned this, so thank you Anna Chronica, and I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your username. Next, I'll need a very long sewing needle and a piece of thread which will help with pulling the hair through the needle. Then, I'll locate an empty plug, use the sharp end of the needle to prep the hole, and then push the eye of the needle in so that it sticks out of the neck. I'll pass the looped thread through the needle, like so, and put the hair strand through the loop. Then I'll just pull the thread to get the hair strand through the needle. Now before pulling the needle out, I hold onto the knot on the hair strand to make sure the needle doesn't just come out together with the hair strand. Only then, I very gently pull the needle out and very gently pull on the hair strand to fix it in place. And then, I'll just repeat the process until all the empty plugs are filled in. Then I'll just do a final check to make sure there are no more empty plugs left. And since the added hair is a bit longer, I'll just need to trim it to the length of the doll's hair. To ensure that all the hair strands are nice and neat, I'll give her one last boil dip. Then, while the head is still soft, we're ready to return the head onto the body and style the hair. So her original hairstyle is just a simple small side ponytail on the right side, so that's exactly what I'm going for. I only have these tiny pink hairbands on me, so I'll use 2 of them to make it pop out a bit more. And we're done! Oh my gosh! This was a lot of work, but look at my girls. They got their original fashions on and they sport their original looks. I do need to improve my curling skills, but overall I'm super happy with how they turned out. Riviera also scored these hot pink tights, which is just an example of how you can cover up the legs if they are slightly damaged like these dolls were. I also think that we don't necessarily need to hide their imperfections, but it's really just a matter of preference. I don't know, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Also, here's a little before and after. They sure look happier now, don't they? Phew, what a journey this was. Thank you all so much for your support, and thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. You guys are awesome, and I want to celebrate it, so please stay tuned for my next video where I will reveal the contents of my doll drawer and talk about my future projects a bit. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I wish you a wonderful day.